From calling the Magician his favorite fighter to go up against, to becoming the best of buddies with Henry Triple C Cejudo. This is all about Demetrious Johnson revealing the scariest rival of his career. The Mighty Mouse recently talked about the man he feared the most. Having fought against the best fighters in the world, sometimes even multiple times, DJ has his pick of the litter when it comes to his favorite fighter. In an interview with MMA Junkie Radio, Johnson said that he enjoyed his time in the octagon with John Dodson. He liked it because it was scary to fight the Magician, because he had that crazy knockout power. Now, being a 125-pounder, you wouldn't expect him to hit as hard, but as Mighty Mouse found out the hard way that if he touched you, you'd just drop. He went on to relive his first fight against Dodson in 2013, and said that he even knocked down DJ 4 times during that match. Of course, the Mouse went on to win that fight on a unanimous decision, but it was still touch and go there for a moment. After that, the Magician went on a 4-fight winning streak, dropping everybody, knocking people out. Johnson wasn't sure how Dodson never crossed paths with Joseph Benavidez, because that would have been an epic battle. The Californian was a pretty good fighter in his own right, and was only stopped by the Mighty Mouse himself. Somehow Benavidez and Dodson never fought as if it was never meant to be. Meanwhile, after his first win over the Magician, DJ went on to fight a couple of other great fighters that also included Benavidez. And then in 2015, he clashed with Dodson once again. This win was particularly satisfying for the Mouse, because of all the trash talking his rival did backstage. Calling him boring just made the victory over him even sweeter for Johnson. Despite all that, he still rates Dodson the highest out of all the guys he fought during his reign as the UFC's #1 flyweight. Coming from one of the greatest fighters of all time, this really is a huge compliment for the Magician, but the respect between these two goes both ways. In August 2022, right after Johnson's win over Adriano Moraes, Dodson was singing the praises of his former rival. He went even as far as to say that DJ is the best fighter in the history of the sport, and the Magician even ranks him higher than John Jones. Even though he's teammates with the UFC GOAT, he still thinks that Mighty Mouse is the most well-rounded mixed martial artist ever. Dodson went on to tell TMZ that the way Johnson combined his wrestling, striking, and jiu-jitsu was just pure art. It takes a highly intelligent guy to achieve that and be so creative with it at the same time. The Magician was talking from experience, of course. He has shared a total of 50 minutes with the Mouse in the octagon, and even though he lost both times, he still welcomes the thought of a trilogy fight with Johnson. Dodson thinks their rivalry could be like the one between Wanderlei Silva and Quentin Rampage Jackson, where the Brazilian crushed Rampage twice in a row, but on the third time, Jackson was able to clinch a demolishing finish. The Magician sees something similar playing out between himself and DJ, and even though the prospect of a third MMA match is exciting, he's open to other challenges as well. Dodson's currently competing in the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, and he'd love nothing more than to welcome his old foe to a match. He's 2-0 in it right now, and is willing to knuckle up any day of the week if Johnson is up for it. Honestly, I doubt that the Mighty Mouse would go for something like that, but the sentiment is refreshing to see. There's no doubt about the respect these two have for each other, so maybe someday we'll see the trilogy fight after all. Until then, DJ is focused on his next match, which actually will be his first ever rubber match. He'll meet Moraes in the One Octagon on May 5th, in the promotion's first ever event on US soil. This will be Mighty Mouse's third consecutive match against Adriano in 3 years, and since they're both at 1-1 right now, the stakes just couldn't be any higher. After winning back his title last year, Johnson was sure that he was gonna see his newest rival pretty soon, but he obviously didn't expect the trilogy to be made immediately. He was thinking that one would probably give the opportunity to someone else first, given that Moraes just lost, but DJ isn't complaining about it. He just wants to bring the belt home once more, just as he did last time. I mean, you can't praise the Mighty Mouse enough for the fighter he is. He went to the second match against Adriano willingly, knowing that his opponent would have a significant weight advantage. The Brazilian even tried using it to its fullest extent, but he underestimated Johnson's resilience. The former flyweight king of the UFC can find opportunities for himself, even in the most dire of situations. Moraes may have tried again and again to use his body weight to snuff out the Mouse, but little did he know how good Demetrious is fighting from his back. DJ kept landing meaningful shots from the guard, which caused his opponent to panic just a little bit, and that was enough for the smaller man to pounce. Adriano was clearly fatigued after what was almost an all-out brawl. This created an opening for DJ to land a big right hand, and as the Brazilian was backing away into the cage, the Mighty Mouse rammed his face with a beautiful flying knee. This truly was awesome, unlike the knee Adriano landed during their first match in 2021. For some reason, one thinks it's okay for fighters to land knees to the heads hands of their grounded opponents. Anyway, the Mighty Mouse was there to set the record straight in the rematch. But this rubber match is gonna be a tough one for both of them. Spending so much time inside the octagon together has its downsides. DJ and Adriano now know each other really well, so it just makes it harder for them to train for each other. Frankly speaking, I'm not too concerned for Johnson. That man has been doing it for a very long time, and he has plenty of tricks up his sleeves. Morella's only got to see a couple of them till now, but he has his work cut out for himself if he wants to stand any chance against the might of the Mouse. Miquinho shared some insights into his training while talking to ONE FC. He said that the training is much more intense and detailed because of how well versed DJ is inside the octagon. Morella's has also brought in some great coaches to help with his Muay Thai, wrestling, boxing, and jiu-jitsu. But apart from the host of training partners and trainers, Adriano is also getting used to the altitude. The fight is going to take place in Denver, Colorado, so this will definitely be a very important factor, especially because the ONE FC usually has their matches in Asia, where the altitude isn't that big of an issue. Miquinho revealed that he had a seminar in Colorado recently, and he got to spend a few days there just so he can get acclimated to the new setting. He also had some training partners who have already fought in such locations, and they gave him some tips on how to deal with it. This also includes the UFC legend Jorge Masvidal, who had some advice for the former ONE flyweight champ. He's taking all the help he can because DJ is the biggest rival of his career, and he acknowledges how good the Mighty Mouse actually is inside the cage. For Adriano, Johnson was his greatest win and his greatest defeat. The Brazilian was the first flyweight champ in ONE FC, and he's going to do everything in his power to win back his title. Otherwise, he's made his peace and has written this fight down as his final attempt at the ONE Championship gold. Adriano might see Johnson as his greatest rival, but Mighty Mouse can't say the same. I mean, he's already named Dodson as his scariest foe, but his greatest rival is now his best friend. Henry Cejudo was the one to dethrone the Mouse in the UFC. Before that, DJ was one of the most dominant champs in the history of the promotion and had defended his title 11 times in over 6 years. There was just no one to stop Johnson when he started to go. Even Triple C failed on his first attempt and was only able to secure a controversial split decision the second time around. But now the two men are very close friends and even help each other prepare for their fights. They have been training together for their respective championship matches against Aljamain Sterling and Moraes. When great fighters like Cejudo turn to someone for advice, you know they're the real deal. During his time in the UFC, DJ was criminally underrated, and how Dana let a legend like Johnson slip from his fingers is beyond me. At least ONE FC is doing a much better job of promoting a fighter of his caliber. There's just something about the Mighty Mouse. Even his fiercest rivals can't help but praise him. So from becoming buddies with Triple C to calling the Magician his favorite fighter to go up against, this was all about Demetrious Johnson revealing the scariest rival of his career.